What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another Salt and Pauper Saturday video, and today we are playing, in true to the season, we are playing a very spooky deck. We're playing some zombies, Jund Reanimator to be exact. We are bringing lots of creatures back from the grave very, very quickly, as early as turn 2 with this Exhume package, and then we are putting together the trusty Lotlith Giant combo OTK out of the Dread Return. So our big win conditions here are Generous Ent, Troll of Khazad-dûm, and Lotlith Giant. Of course, our support is pretty much a full package here. We have 4 Blanchwood Prowlers, 4 Circle of Land Druids, 4 Malevolent Rumbles, 4 Satyr Wayfinders, 4 Scrapwork Mutts, and 4 Stinkweed Imps. So we are really turboing those cards into the graveyard. A nice play pattern you'll see fairly often is the ability to discard the Stinkweed Imp, then draw it or dredge it with the Scrapwork Mutts. So be very familiar with that loop. You'll see it a lot, and it's pretty crucial to some of the optimum draws and lines for this deck, especially the flashback or the unearth to dredge 5 and then fuel a Dread Return sacrifice. That's something I did quite a few times. But without any further ado, let's kick off our Pauper Halloween party, if you will, and jump into our first feature match. Okay, game number 1. This is against Celato 1. We are, of course, playing Dredge. Let's see what our opening hand looks like. No land hand. That does happen with this deck occasionally. It does mulligan pretty well, though, because really all you need is 1 land and 1 land cycler to start kind of churning through these mill 4, get a land back type of effects. But in this case, unfortunately, we're going to have to take them all. And no lander, easy mull. No lander. Or 1 lander, but no land cycler. This might have been a keep for some people, but for me, it's a mull. And unfortunately, this is a mull. And this is a mull. So we are starting out on a true horror story of a deck experience. This is, if you're counting at home, a mulligan to 3. And this is going to be a keep from us. We're going to throw some cards back. We're going to throw that Scrapwork Mutt back. We'll throw that back. Just kidding. We're going to throw the Scrapwork Mutt back. We're going to throw one of the Wayfinders back. 2 of the Wayfinders back. And we'll keep the Exhume. My logic here was just simply that I can draw a land cycler and maybe make this a game. So we're going to run it like that and see what happens. Opponent on an Arbor Elf. This is almost certainly either Eldrazi Ponza or Eldrazi Monsters. We did, in fact, draw the Cycler, which kind of was the goal here. So we get to cycle this away, and I grabbed the tap land by accident. A true horror start. So unfortunately, this is not looking good. Opponent on a Writhing Chrysalis. We do still get to Exhume on this turn, but we were 1 turn slower than we should have been. Worth noting, Troll does block the Chrysalis profitably here, so that's super helpful. Altasaur into a Generous Ent. Oof, maximum value. We do get to sort of turn this into a game. We've hit a couple of land drops here. We've got a couple of mill sources. If we can stall out just a little bit longer, we might be able to... Oh, no. The opponent... Once again, maximum value, boarding party into Avenging Hunter. That all but seals this game, let's be honest. This has been an absolute worst case scenario at every possible turn. The misclick, the multi 3, the absolute maximum high roll on those Cascade triggers. Well, not maximum. I guess he could have hit a boarding party on the Altasaur first, but an absolute slaughtering from the opponent here. Let's see if we can turn this around, though. I have hopes, not high hopes, but I have hopes. And let's see what game number 2 looks like. Alrighty, so game number 2. This time, hopefully not a multi 3. We are going to be on the play. This is a great hand, so we're going to go ahead and keep this. Let's take a look at our board real quick. We took out a couple of Branchwood Prowlers. We brought in 2 more Knot of the Bones. Now, obviously, Ancient Grudge, reasonable sideboard option here. You can preemptively sideboard them in, and in some cases I do. Against this particular list, sometimes the boards can be a little bit cluttered. So I'm not actually going to bring the Ancient Grudges in this time until they show me a reason to bring in the Ancient Grudges. So we actually just elect to try to life race them here. And we're going to see what we can do. We are definitely keeping this, and let's run it. Lead on tap land. Now, this minimizes our outs to drawing an Exhume, but that's okay. Going to go ahead and cast this Wayfinder. Start to churn out our engine. We miss on the Wayfinder, which is actually okay. We hit double Stinkweed and a Dread Return with a Lotleth in hand, so we're brewing up a little bit of a quick nuke from this Lotleth Giant here. We mill 5, go to 8 creatures after another mill 3, and we are definitely starting the clock on the opponent here. Opponent's not really doing much. They don't have a Chrysalis. They just go Jewel Thief into Hooting Mandrills, which isn't doing a ton. We're going to go ahead and flash this back. Do the Stinkweed Imp trick. Do the Stinkweed Shuffle. Flashback for Lotleth Giant. Nuke him to 7. And just try to put a clock on him here. They're in a position where they kind of have to block. They've got Leah's Disciple, though, which is a great sideboard card against the red aggro lists that are very, very popular right now. And it does put them just out of a second Lotleth, even after we dredge the other Stinkweed Imp. We do top deck a Dread Return, but we need a second black. We do just elect to swing. They put the Lotleth Giant back in the graveyard for us, which is what we wanted out of that. We're going to take some damage here. We do have a Knot of the Bone in the yard, though, so we have lots of time. We have 2 Knot of the Bones in the yard, correction. We're going to go ahead and mill here. This is a gamble. We need to hit a land. We do, though. So we're going to go ahead and play the land. We weren't dead, but if they had a boarding party or something, we could have been. In this case, we do hit the land, so it doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and gain 32 life here. And just take the damage. We've got time. We just need to set up a board in which we get to our second Lotleth Giant from hand, and we probably just nuke them with this other Dread Return in the yard, so we're just gonna play it a little bit slow here. We've got another Knot of the Bone. Let's go up to 66. Won't hurt. Sometimes it's about sending a message, you know? To that effect, we are gonna just attack with this Stinkweed, put him down to 34. 34 is good math for us. We're at 16 creatures. So 17 times 2 is 34. That also set up lethal where we attack with 2 Stinkweeds and then flashback the Dread Return. Play and flashback the Dread Return, rather. Still without a black source, but we get to just play the Lotleth Giant here and then, boom, -4 GG's. Off to game number 3. All right, here we go. Game number 3. Let's see, we're on the draw this time, so our Exhume hands are a little bit worse than they otherwise would be, but we do have tap land, troll, Exhume, so we are going to go for it anyway. This is a little bit of a risky hand, because if we go for the turn 3 Exhume here, it's not even a turn 2 Exhume, unless we draw a tap land on our first turn, or unless we draw an untapped land on our first turn. We do have to go for a black source off this troll if we want to play the Exhume. So if we get a green source, we do have to play it on turn 4, which is decidedly worse, and involves us missing some land drops. So this may be a little bit of a gamble, but I think we're going to go for it. Sideboard here. Little bit different. We took out 1 Knot of the Bone. We took out 3 Branchwood Prowlers, and we put in that. So now we're at 3 Knot of the Bones and 2 Ancient Grudges. Just to make sure that they don't have a relic or something to mess us up. So we're going to go ahead and run it like this. Opponent's starting strong on an Arbor Elf. We do draw an untapped lane, though, which is good. Unfortunately, it was a black source. Really hoping for a forest there. So we do still have to get the black source for the Troll Khazad-dûm plan, but knowing the deck is out of removal, or at least plays basically no removal, means that this troll plan can definitely get there if the opponent stumbles or has kind of a clunky hand. We're going to start applying some pressure. We top deck the Generous Ant, which is fantastic, or we did last turn. So we do get the untapped green source, which is what we needed, and then we hit another green source on the Satyr. So we are well and truly churning here. And, man, the way this match started with a mull to 3 definitely does not reflect the match as it's going now. Opponent hits an Altasaur. Does trade with our Troll. A little bit unfortunate there. We're just going to attack. We're going to make them trade. If they take it, that's fine too. We're going to play the Stinkweed Imp. The Stinkweed trades with the Altasaur anyway. Opponent goes for the Rumble. Opponent finds a Writhing Chrysalis in that Rumble, and then just plays the Chrysalis. That's okay. Unfortunately, the Chrysalis does have an extra spawn from the Rumble, so it can trade with the Troll, which is a little bit lame. Opponent going for an absolute haymaker here, though. Huge turn from the opponent, adding a ton of power onto the board. And just attacking. We're going to take that easy Altasaur trade here. No reason to deny us just a nice clean value and get to dredge the Imp again. We love that. Another gamble on the Satyr Wayfinder, hoping to hit a third land. We miss, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and do the Stinkweed thing again, just to set up, and then we'll Dread Return a big idiot, so we have some good blockers. Admittedly, not the 6/5s off the board, although this board looks scary. It's not dealing as much as you'd think, so we are at 14. We have a little bit of life to worry about. We're just going to make them trade the Writhing Chrysalis, and then eat this Hootie Mandrills. We go to 9. Surely we can't miss again with Circle of... yep, we did. But that's okay. We're going to go ahead and play this a little bit slow here. We're going to Gnaw to the Bone. And then we're just going to flashback this Dread Return and dome the opponent for lethal. Nice and easy. Boom. Game, set, match. Beautiful comeback from the deck here to really show that it's got some chops, especially against one of the more aggressive and kind of hardy mid-range decks in the format right now, Eldrazi Monsters. So definitely a prime showing for the Dredge deck. Before we jump into match 2, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really, honestly does help us grow. I know at this point, you're probably pretty sick of YouTubers saying, like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. But honestly, it really does help, and it really does matter, and I wouldn't say it if it didn't. So, thank you so much for those of you watching the video and all of those Day 1 supporters. Going strong on 2 years for the channel now, and really happy with the growth that we've seen and the success that I've had so far. So hoping to keep it going, and just thank you so much for watching the video. Okay, kicking off match number 2. This is against Adretus. And once again, we are on the play, which is fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and take the play. And let's see what our opener looks like. This is a great hand. We do have an untapped land into Troll or Generous Ant for Exhume, so we're going to go ahead and let that rip. No reason to not play that. Opponent leads on a Fairy Seer. Almost certainly on mono blue or blue black fairies. That means the Troll almost certainly isn't going to get there, but at least it'll put some pressure on him very quickly, and they had a snap. But that's okay. The life moves on. We do still have a Dread Return in hand and a Lotleth Giant, so these are fantastic things. We're going to go ahead and slow it down now that we know the opponent is on kind of a tempo-y strategy. We're going to go ahead and just scrap work, discard this Lotleth Giant out of our hand. Hitting a Gnaw to the Bone is huge. That's going to give us tons of time and requires 2 counter spells to stop. So we love that. We'll trade the Scrapwork Muck just so we can unearth it later. Hit a Generous Ant, into a land drop, into a circle. These are all fine. Still got lots of graveyard value. We have double Scrapwork Mutt in the yard, so we'll just block here to prevent them from getting a draw for free. They're on 5 cards, so it's a little bit of a resource fight. We're going to flashback the Scrapwork Mutt, discard this Lotleth Giant again. Hit him for 2. We did draw another Lotleth Giant off the Lotleth Giant, which is unfortunate. We now have 3 in the yard, though, so we're definitely going to have some nuke potential here with these Dread Returns in the very near future, if the opponent ever gives us a chance to use it. We're going to end of turn Gnaw to the Bone here. Opponent shows us Spell Stutter, but Needs a second one. Doesn't play it, and then we're just going to Malevolent Rumble. We'll get a Stinkweed Imp, play a Stinkweed Imp. And the opponent plays a counterspell here. Not the best option for a counterspell in my mind, but I think they didn't have anything else to play with their mana, and they didn't want to make sure they just floated 2 for no reason. I think ultimately, when you're this ahead on board, you should just float the 2 for no reason and hold it until I do something that changes your board state, because I haven't been interactive. And Stinkweed Imp, while it is going to trade with probably the Spire Golem, it's not really going to do much to turn the tide of this board. Counterspell buys you 1 more turn. But I'm not a huge fan of that. We do have an Alpha Strike from the opponent here. Not too bad, though. Only puts us down to 14. We'll flashback the Scrapwork Mutt, ditch the Stinkweed, get the Stinkweed back, do the Mutt thing again. Mill a whole bunch. 19 cards in the yard, so now we get to go ahead and flashback this Dread Return. Opponent has a counterspell. We're going to play another Dread Return, and this one resolves. Boom, opponent dead. That's how you beat Mono Blue. You just fight right through triple counterspell, and you make them die anyway. On to game number 2. This is an interesting matchup, so let's take a look at our sideboard options. All right, game number 2. We take out 3 Blanchwood Prowlers. We bring in 3 Ancient Grudges. This matchup, I will preemptively sideboard Ancient Grudge into Relic, mostly just because the monocolor board doesn't have that many cards to clutter it. It's not going to be over full or have to, you know, cut marginal things, so it just always has 2 to 3 relics in it, and we're going to play like it does. So go ahead and, unfortunately, this is a mulligan, so we're going to go ahead and mull that away. This one's fine, though. Troll Exhume, again, probably not going to be successful, but we might be able to try it. We do hit a forest, and the opponent actually doesn't have a fast start here, no 1 or 2 creature, so we're just going to go ahead and play this a little bit slow. No need to go for the troll right away. We're going to set up a turn where we can exhume the Generous Ent instead. We go ahead and exhume here, but the opponent has a Force Spike, which is pretty brutal that we got punished. But we were going to play the land drop there, or the tapped land anyway, so even if we play the land first, we get punished with that Force Spike. Just have to know to play around that going forward. Opponent starts the game with the Ninja. We're just going to discard that Scrapwork Mutt, and we hit a Satyr Wayfinder, which is good. We're just going to hit a land drop and leave that Ancient Grudge in the graveyard, so if we do see a relic, we know we have something to do about it. We mill a Stinkweed Imp, which is pretty great. We're going to fill the graveyard very quickly here. We jump up to 7 creatures, and the opponent's going to Scrapwork, or Spell Stutter this Mutt, but that's fine. It's got Unearth. We don't care. A lot of the spells in this deck, they don't really feel great about counterspelling. So anytime you can get a counterspell out on one of the things that don't immediately win you the game, it's a win. And that was something that really just was the key to most of the success that this deck had over the week of my testing, is you really just have to present things to the opponent and let them counter them. And once they go for it, you're able to do stuff like this. So they counter a Stinkweed Imp. We're able to flash back for a Lotleth Giant, put them at 4, and the opponent just immediately scoops, because I'm guessing they either don't have a snap in hand or just don't feel like fighting through with 2 Scrapwork Mutts in the yard that I can unearth next turn to attack. So definitely a very imposing deck, very strong deck. Great showing from this week overall. Some really interesting matchups against what I would consider pretty good decks in the metagame right now. Would be interested to see Koldatha against this deck. I actually didn't match up against any Koldathas in my testing, so a little bit sad there, but we do have 2 Gnaws in the main and 2 in the side, so we definitely have huge life gain potential against the Koldatha deck, so I'm pretty confident in that matchup as well. And Lotleth Giant is just such a good win condition as a fallback for the Exhume package, so really happy with the deck overall. Anyways, guys, that is going to do it for me this week. Announcement, I will be at MagicCon Las Vegas this weekend, today. So if you are there, find me. I'll be in the creator area or maybe in an artist line getting some signatures for my cube. But otherwise, I will be hanging around the con and aiming to play in the Pauper Cup later this afternoon on Saturday. So go ahead and if you see me, say hi. I will have some swag, some custom tokens for some giveaways, and always happy to chat with other Pauper players. So as usual, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have a great time at Vegas for those of you who are attending with me. I will see you when I get back. Goodbye forever, unless I see you next time.